Good morning everybody, welcome to Friday's English lesson. So we've done so much preparation in the week, starting with our text detective, then going on to our mummification process, and step by step each day we have really figured out how to develop our instructions into an explanation using those conjunctions, adding those extra vocabulary to then lead up to this. So yesterday you should have wrote your introduction and that beginning paragraph instructing the priest on what he will need to begin the mummification process, and today we're going to tell him exactly what to do. So can you remember the first three steps just by looking at those pictures? Shout them at the screen for me because they're the ones that we're going to be writing about today. Step 1, 2 and 3. So step 1 is washing the body, which is the picture here on the left hand side. So you're washing the body with water from the Nile. Step 2 is we're removing that brain, the disgusting bit and the bit that's really makes you shiver on the inside. And then step 3, which is the final part that we'll be writing today, is about removing the organs and placing them in the canopic jars. So everything that you've done over the past couple of days since Tuesday, so all the information about mummification, all your up-leveled instructions and your up-leveled adverbs in SPAG, have them at arm's distance so then you can grab them today and they're going to help you build your paragraph. So we're just going to quickly recap as each step of these first three steps, what they did and why did they do it, because as we know in explanation text, it's not just about telling them what to do, it's giving them a reason why, an explanation as to why I am doing something. So we've got what did they do? They washed the body with the water from the Nile, nice and easy. But why did they do it? It was to ensure the body was clean of any dirt, blood, sand, anything that would have made it harder to mummify, and then that would ensure the skin was ready and pure to be mummified. So that was the first step with our what and why. Our second step with our what and why was to remove the brain. So what did they do? They hooked the brain out and liquefied it and it came out of the skull. That's the step, but why did they do it? They did it because they thought, meh, the brain's not important. I don't care about that. And they definitely won't be needing that in the afterlife. Really silly if you ask me, because obviously without your brain you can't do anything. So Egyptians very clever for a lot of constructional things and their technology, but not thinking the brain wasn't important isn't the wisest of moves, I don't think, but that's their what and why. And finally, our third step today is what they did. They made the incision on the left-hand side of the body. Now, I'm not really sure why it was on the left-hand side. I believe probably because your heart's on the left-hand side, so they wanted to make sure it was under there. And your liver, maybe it's the ones that are closest to these organs, that it had to be on the left-hand side. Maybe that's something that you could research, a little bit of extra information. But what they did is they made that cut on the left-hand side and they removed those 4 organs, the liver, the lungs, the stomach and the intestines. But why did they do it? Well, they did it because they wanted to take them into the afterlife in those canopic jars. So as you can see in front of you are those causal conjunctions, the ones that we've worked on all week. I'm not saying that you're not going to use your fanboys and your isa or wabub, so your coordinating and subordinating conjunctions, but these are the ones that are going to help us probably the most, and we're going to use them the most frequently during our explanation text. So I'm just putting them there to remind you, and you should have used them in our last couple of days' pieces of work as well. So you should be getting quite familiar with these by now. So as you can see in front of you is my model paragraph, and I've got a subheading here which is the first 3 steps, and you can see it's 3 different colours and they represent the first 3 different steps. So we've got green to represent the washing, yellow to represent the brain removal, and the blue to represent the organ removal. So we're going to read it through together. As I'm reading through, I just want you to listen this first time, see if you can spot anything that you really like that you might want to magpie in your paragraph. But on the next slide, we're going to do a little bit of a text detective to ensure I have everything in the success criteria. So you do not need to worry about writing it all down frantically, because you're going to have another opportunity to take a look at my model paragraph as well. But for now, you can just follow along as I read it through. Initially, trainee priests must wash the corpse thoroughly with clean water from the River Nile. at least 3 buckets full. As a result, this will remove excess dirt, blood and sand to ensure the remains are thoroughly clean for the mummification process to begin. If the dead has body hair, the apprentice should use a sharp razor to dispose of the growth. As the corpse is now clean, the removal of the brain can now commence. The priest should use a long sharp hook to insert through the nostril and orbit around the skull. Therefore, the brain will become liquefied and drip slowly through the nasal cavity of the corpse. Please ensure the head to be tilted forward so gravity can play its role. Next, a small incision should be made on the left-hand side of the body. Make this as small as possible. The lungs, liver, intestines and stomach should all be carefully removed and placed into their corresponding canopic jars. Please be aware, trainees must not take the heart from the corpse because this is forbidden. The heart must remain in place as it will be weighed by Anubis and Maat in the underworld. So there is my model paragraph. I hope you like it. So then we're going to go into the next slide. And you will be able to see my success criteria. So we're going to go through it together to ensure I have everything, which will also help you and remind you that when you're writing your own, what I am looking for. So time adverbials, adverbs of time that tell me when something is happening. So I'm going to do those in purple and I'm going to underline all my time adverbials in purple. See if you can spot some. So I've got 2 adverbs of time. I could have used firstly at the beginning, but I've just up-leveled it to initially. I could have used after that. I could have used next, which I've got down here. I could have used secondly. So similarly to when we're doing instructions and we say when in chronological order, what's going to happen next, I want to see some time adverbials. Next, we have some adverbs of manner. So it tells me how this instruction should be done. So it's giving me usually those ly words. It's telling me how I should do it. Let's see if we can spot some. So I have here thoroughly. I've done thoroughly twice, so maybe I could up-level that to something else so I don't have to use it twice. You must wash the corpse. Let's see if I can think of another word for thoroughly. I could use a synonym like rigorously, so must wash the corpse rigorously, because that means a lot. So I could change that, and then I've said slowly to about the hook in the nose, because we don't want to do that. I mean, we could do it aggressively, but we don't want to hurt our dead person and not respect them. So we could change that to gently, and then we've got carefully, we could have cautiously. So I've got a couple of adverbs of manner throughout my first paragraph telling me how we should do that instruction. Next, we've got those brackets for extra information. So see if you can spot mine. I have here about the at least 3 buckets full, because that's giving me extra information about how much water I will need. And then here I've got a little bit more information about what the incisions should be. So it's giving me extra information that it shouldn't be a big incision, it should be as small as possible. So I've got 2 brackets for extra information in my light blue. Next, we have imperative verbs, which are so common when it comes to instructional text that you've been doing them since year 2 as bossy verbs. So can you spot any bossy verbs? Okay, so I've just underlined a couple there. I've got wash right at the top here, and then we've got to use, so using that sharp razor. I've got dispose of the growth instead of saying get rid of. I've uploaded that. Up-leveled it, sorry. And then we've got insert through the nostril about the hook, and then we've got orbit, which is here. So as we know from our space topic, orbit means go around in a circular motion. So we're not stabbing the brain, we're like circling around it. So that gives my priest a little bit more information about the way I would like him to remove the brain. So we've got imperative verbs, conjunctions, which is the main one that we're focusing on. So whether it's a fanboy, whether it's a causal conjunction, whether it's an iso or wabob, so coordinating and subordinating conjunctions, let's see if we can spot them. So can you see on the first bit here, I've got as a result, so underlining that one, which is my causal conjunction. I've got if, I've got as, so I'm starting my sentence, as the corpse is now clean. So that isn't a main clause, that's subordinating. So I've got my subordinating conjunction at the beginning, and, which is a coordinating conjunction bringing 2 main clauses together. Then I've got therefore, my causal conjunction giving me extra information, and again as, so extra information from my subordinating conjunction, and because. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 dotted around in mine, so I want at least 6 or 7 in yours, please. So you can tell me what they're doing, but most importantly, why they do it. So present tense, I'm not going to underline because I just want you to be aware that it is written in the present tense. So you're not instructing the priest what to do in the past. So the priest would have done this. We're telling him like we're back in ancient Egyptian now, writing this explanation for him. So we want to make sure that it's written in the present tense, that it's happening right now, and this is what he should do. So we're not using those suffixes of the ed like it should happen. We're doing it what it will happen now. Modal verbs, so we're looking at those degree of possibility, so I'm going to do that in black. So how the verbs should be done. So is it going to be a can, a could not, he should do this, he may do this, he might do this. So we're giving him an instruction of what he should and should not do. Okay, so I've done my modal verbs. We have must, will, should. I've got quite a lot of shoulds throughout, so he should do this and he should do that. Maybe I could up level those. I'll just swap them around a bit to he could do this, he may do this, because should, I'm repeating it a lot, so I think maybe that's something I can up level, that he may do that. So I think here and stomach may all be carefully removed. I think that sounds a little bit more polite and a little less bossy, because I've got shoulds everywhere, so I think that's something to think about. And then my high quality vocabulary, I'm going to do in red. So that's everything that makes my explanation text sound current and fancy and specific to the ancient Egyptian. So I've got trainee priests. So obviously they're not real priests yet, they're training. That's why they need our explanation as to how to mummify a body. So that's who we're directing, that's our audience, these trainee priests. So we're not going to say you do this and you do that. We're going to be more formal than that and address them by their title. So they're going to be trainee priests, or we could use the synonym apprentices. So that's something that we could do. Thoroughly clean the water. Obviously River Nile is specific to our topic. And then to ensure the remains thoroughly, for the mummification, make sure that's spelled properly in your writing. The apprentice, which is here. Sharp razor, dispose. I'll underline that one because I really like that word instead of get rid of, because we're not getting rid of the hair, we're just disposing of it. As the corpse, I think is nice rather than just saying dead person all the time. Can now commence rather than can now happen. So it's just being really knowledgeable and expanding that vocabulary that you all know how to do. Just looking through your writing and thinking, that sounds a bit rubbish, or I know I can do it better than that, and up-leveling those words on your next page. So the hook is the key vocabulary. When it's not a knife, it's a hook that hooks inside the nostril, so I can use that one because that's specific. It will become liquefied because that's really specific. It becomes like a liquid, like water and goo and slime, and drip slowly through the nasal cavity. I can use corpse is another way of saying dead person that I can use. And then I've talked about the head being tilted forward, so therefore the gravity can pull the liquid down, so it's not all staying inside the skull, it's being liquefied and drained through the nose. And then a small incision, so rather than saying cut, I've said incision, which sounds a little bit more up-leveled. I've told you subject specific, that it has to be on the left-hand side. I've said that it's corresponding canopic jars. You can give me more information and tell me which organ goes in which jar, because you know that now, and you know which jar has the special names. My favourite one is Happy, the baboon, because he takes the lungs and it always reminds me of Tarzan. So maybe you could tell me a little bit more information about which canopic jar takes which organ. That would be nice. And you can also tell me this bit about the corpse not having its heart taken out because it's forbidden, because it must remain in the body because it's weighed by these gods in the underworld. So that's all really subject specific, high quality vocabulary here. Anubis and Mahat are those gods that weigh it, and if it's heavier than the feather, then they are not going up to the afterlife. They are staying in the underworld, and they are going to be eaten by Amit. So that's our job today. So I've just gone through the success criteria to ensure I've got everything. You can pause the screen now and you can write it with mine in front of you. I don't want you to steal it, but you can magpie some ideas and the format. But just remember, we're doing steps 1 to 3. Look through your work, look through your planning. I know with Miss Ingham's video, you did lots of nice adverbs of manner and adverbs of time on Tuesday for your spag, so that will really help you. And then throughout this week as well, when we've been up leveling those instructions to make sure we ensure that we use those conjunctions as well. So you should have quite a lot of planning, able to just get up and go with this paragraph. So we've got the first 3 now and the next couple of steps on the beginning of next week. So I can't wait to see them on Dojo. Make sure you upload them to this task. Make sure you've got everything in that success criteria. So freeze the screen and keep checking to make sure you've got everything that you need. And then I can't wait to read them.